if you got a dollar or just a lousy down, know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine. You can take or leave me, but you ain't got much time, 'cause I just keep on rolling down the line.
Hi, this is Patrick with the Trusty Huckster Mercantile. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, well, welcome to you too. Again, my name is Patrick. I run Trusty Huckster Mercantile, which is a vintage resale business with a presence on Etsy. We specialize in porcelain, glass, pottery, basically decorative objects of a vintage nature. And I have a presence as well on Instagram and Facebook, and as you found me, on YouTube. During this particular time that we are in, I've been mixing things up a little bit and offering a variety of videos. And one of the things that has developed is this somewhat series of videos which focus on unboxing. Like a lot of people who have been under stay-at-home orders, I got a little antsy for not being able to go out and buy new things, so I started shopping online. And due to a failure of a shipment, which can be covered in an earlier video, I decided that this was an opportunity not to try and shame sellers if they happen to pack something poorly and there's a bad experience, and actually not even specifically to praise any sellers that do well, although I will do that. I am a reseller myself, and I think credit should be given to those who are doing their jobs well. But I'm actually hoping to use this almost as a training video or an in-the-know style video about how packing is done by a number of different resellers. Most of what I purchase are breakables. I purchase a lot of glass. I purchase a lot of porcelain. So it's in my best interest to know what I'm receiving is going to be well packaged. And then because I ship a lot of glass and porcelain, I want to be able to package it so that it arrives safely. At no point am I trying to claim to be an expert. I have absolutely shipped items that have been damaged in transit. As a seller, I always 100% step forward, take full responsibility, provide a full refund to the seller or to the buyer, and then as the seller, I pursue insurance claims to get any money back that I can. That's me. Everyone handles it slightly differently, and that's really not what's going to be covered in these videos, but hopefully what you will enjoy is seeing how a variety of sellers, both domestically and internationally, are packing materials to make it through transit in the current situations that we're in. So please enjoy this video, which is going to be unveiling a collection of Lilien porcelain teacups and saucers. And depending on which order you're watching these videos, you'll see a little bit of a trend. There is a lot of Lilien that comes in. So just as a little bit of a precursor, even though I've already posted a Lilien video, there is a backstory to all of this Lilien. I traveled with my daughter in Austria for Christmas and New Year. She was studying in Germany at the time, and that was where we met to spend 2 weeks together. During that time, we attended a flea market in Vienna on the weekend, just one of those little where they, little car boot sale. They did have some tables, and just wandering through, not speaking the language, just kind of seeing the pretties, I suddenly discovered this table of a porcelain I'd never seen before from a brand I'd never heard, and it was called Lilien Porzellan. My daughter served as fantastic translation because she speaks fluent German. I speak none. And learned a little bit about it, and I became obsessed. When I came back to the States, I found that it's extremely difficult to find. It is not particularly expensive. It's just not common. It's not a name that people know. So one of the things indirectly I hope will happen is a little bit of education of what types of products the Lilien Porzellan brand offers. So again, here is the opening of one of the pieces that really drew my attention to the brand, is this style of teacup that you'll see in the unboxing. Enjoy. So we're going to unbox the set of teacups and saucers. Of all of the packages that I have ordered, this has been the most expensive and equally the most valuable. So this was the one that I was the most interested as it arrived, how it had been handled. At first glance, the box does not look like it has had a good life. There are several places in the box that are showing creases, crease in the corner, crease here, creasing down here. On the back side, it looks like the box has been compressed in some way. There's a bend there, which I'm not sure you can see me at an angle. You can kind of see where the cardboard has been distressed. But the corners seem pretty good shape, so it's possible this was a reused box. There is some remnants of some weird tape on here. So it's entirely possible that the box was in storage somewhere, they pulled it out, and this looked like that because it had been, you know, shoved up against the wall. So no obvious new damage, so we're just gonna cut it open and see what happens. Also worth noting, it does have the tape for priority mail, and it was shipped priority mail 2 days. This is new. Okay, so opening it up, we have batting, quilt batting. It's a woven material. It does pull apart. It's not angel hair, because I'd be scratching my skin off right now if it were. I'm thinking this is a polyester foam batting for quilting, because it's long, and that's a good thing. My ex-wife and I, at the time she was not my ex, we used to own a quilt shop. Ran a quilt shop for 10 years, so I actually know quite a bit about fabric. I didn't really get into the quilting part. That was her job. I don't know, this is really loose. Like maybe this is the foam fill for pillows? Okay, it doesn't really matter, but I'm fascinated. So, okay, so this was what's on the top layer, which again, I've been, you know, tucking at it, but this is a really soft, cushiony material that I think is, you know, would probably serve as a pretty good piece. All right, so then we're at the kind of the top layer after that came on. We've got a mix of items. So I'm going to start in the middle. And it appears that it's an individual teacup with a very odd green tape holding it in place. I guess it's painter's tape. Okay, well, anyway. So it's a very large piece. It absolutely works for my desire, not a requirement, but my desire to be able to see the tape on the bubble wrap, so it's easier to take off. It's pretty visible, bright green, so it's gonna be pretty easy to find. The cup itself seems like it has pretty decent cushion of bubble wrap on itself, and then it's set into like the batting continued underneath it. There's kind of a nest where this sat in. What I'm trying to figure out is where, okay, so here's where the handle is. It looks like there's a piece of maybe tissue paper or something that'll be underneath the bubble wrap. I'll have to figure that out. But this is where the handle is. There wasn't necessarily any extra padding put around this handle. There's a couple, you know, layers here that as it was pulled together, you kind of had these flaps. If that was done in a way that could have been taped over the handle, it would have given the handle a little bit more protection. Now, it appears it's fine, so that's good. So let's see if I can figure out how to open this. It does, the tape tears fairly easily, so again, I think it might be maybe a painter's tape of some sort. So they will take that off, open this up. Yes, there is a piece of tissue paper. Probably a nice little extra little piece of cushion. And there it is. The first piece to the collection that I first saw when vacationing with my daughter in Vienna, Austria. This is what triggered my obsession with Lilien Porzellan. So I decided even though it was extremely expensive, I had to have it. The noteworthy part of this is not really a product video, but just as a little bit of education. The noteworthy of this is that stamp is brown. They only used that stamp the first couple of years they were in existence. So that is the oldest stamp available. It started in 1959. I think they went to the next one in 1963. There's a couple flea bites on the edge, which I'm not thrilled about because that was not disclosed in the sale, but that was not caused by shipping. So that's a whole different issue. But the earliest ones, also as an education, earliest ones have the color of the handle matches the body of the cup. The later versions, you can see the inside of the cup is white. The later versions, the handle was white as well. So this, again, you can tell by the date stamp on the back, you know this is the oldest. But at a glance, even without flipping something over, you can also tell it's the oldest because it's all a solid body color with handle. Okay, so that was the first piece. Sitting next to it, also kind of nestled in a little nest, is another teacup. Now, interestingly, this one, for whatever reason, doesn't have the piece of tissue paper on it. I'm not sure the significance of why that one had the tissue paper and this one does not. Now this one, slightly different, put the tissue paper in the middle. Well, it's not tissue paper, it's actually a bag, plastic bag. So again, just kind of, I guess, providing a little bit of cushion. It filled the whole thing. If you've seen some of my other videos, I'm at a loss to how that is particularly helpful. Certainly not harmful, but if anyone has details on why this is being done, I would appreciate knowing. I've done stuff like this myself, but as I've mentioned probably in earlier videos, depending on which order you're seeing these in, I would provide enough padding so that it was up a little bit more, so that when I wrapped it with the bubble wrap, you basically had a distance between the outer layer and the rim of the cup. Because this was basically flat, the bubble wrap came across the top, so the only protection for the edge was the little layer of bubble wrap. It's protection, yeah, that's good, but I'm not clear on if there's additional benefits to doing that. So I'd love feedback if people have some insight on that. You can tell these look, at first glance, these look like they're the same color. They are not. They're all similarly colored, but this is something I'll be going into more detail as I talk about Lilien. They originally had planned on doing their sets as, you know, you could buy an entire set like this, or you could buy an entire set in that color. And when they first started doing this in 1959, they couldn't get consistency in the glaze. And what ended up happening was if you had a set of 6 teacups and the teapot and the creamer and the sugar, and they were all supposed to be this color, when you put them all on the table, they were all slightly different, and it looked weird. So the marketing department did what I think is hilariously perfect solution. They created the concept of the Lilien mélange, and they mix and matched all of the colors. And so by design, you were never supposed to have the same color porcelain in more than one piece. So then you would never have the situation where 2 of them that were supposed to be the same color didn't match. They fixed it later because one of their marketing ploys was to promote the idea you didn't have to buy the entire set at one time, which back in the 50s and early 60s, that was more common. They recognized people couldn't always afford that. So they actually had a marketing campaign that said, we will guarantee this China pattern stays in production for 40 years. And at any point over the next 40 years, you need to get a piece. We will have it available in the color you initially started with. So at some point they had to consistently get the glaze, but day one, when they first launched it, they couldn't do it. So they made this melange idea, and it was extremely successful. And so now most sets you see, if they're properly sold, they will be a mixed set of 6 different colors, as opposed to you probably can find 6 that all match, maybe not with the brown stamp, but anyway, so that's a lesson for another day. So that's packaged up. Now what's interesting is those 2 are sitting here in these little nests, very nicely formed in the foam, but now here's a box. The box does not have any cushion on this side, but it's cushioned on the front and it's cushioned on the back, and then you have the cushioning here. So let's see. I'm gonna guess that these are the saucers, but I don't know. All right, so we've got a kettle and fire box. I have no idea what that is. Let's see if I can open this without dropping it. The tape comes off really nicely off of the cardboard. Right, I'm gonna put it back in because I need to have a plate. I need to be able to pull here. So when you open the box, you've got some styrofoam. There's also some styrofoam that are on the edges to give that extra protection. Some more batting, some bubble wrap. Oh, and the bubble wrap appears to be a bubble wrap bag. So it's a bubble wrap bag with the individual saucer inside. So this happens to be the matching color to one of the teacups we pulled out. And you can also see the center of this is white. Also has the brown stamp on the back, so you've got a collection. So I'm going to assume that this is all saucers. So then you've got this little foam poly, whatever this material is, that was kind of folded over, and then you've got another saucer that was held in that foam. And then this piece comes out. Oddly, the color is the same as what I'm pulling out, so I don't know if the color wore off or if that's just a coincidence that those colors are on the china. That's odd. The next piece is a littler bag that has 2 saucers in it. But when you pull the saucers out, so that was the bag that they were in, just has an opening on the one end. You open them up, you've got 2 saucers, each with the little foam divider. So these are actually very nicely nestled. Because now in this case, this is something I haven't seen yet in doing the unboxings. They basically created a box within a box. And I think I mentioned that in another video. That is the most protection you could have. It's still not infallible. You know, if somebody really wants to crush it, they can crush it. But then this, suddenly everything that's in this box is already protected for shipping. And now you enclose it into this bigger box. It protects what's in here. So there is still really nice protection. But if it had been shipped just through the mail, I think I would have wanted to see a little bit extra. But because it was a box within a box, this is actually designed absolutely perfect. So you got another level of cushioning, another little one of these bags with another saucer. That's a really pretty lavender color. Another insert, another one of the individual bags. This one's only holding 1. That one has the pink. And then at the very bottom, so I've taken all the 6 saucers out, they actually have another piece of styrofoam in the bottom, and then kind of created a little nest of foam for those to sit in. Now I will say, I'm kind of tilted here, this was sitting directly against the bottom of this other box. So there was no other cushion. So the only thing that would have improved it a little bit is if maybe another piece of styrofoam or another piece of batting had been put against the bottom surface. So then you would have had the outer box, some protection, inner box, some protection, and then the individually protected saucers. But this is one of the best packing jobs I've seen so far. The material is a little eccentric, but that just makes it quaint. You know, I'm not gonna judge. This is, again, falling in the whole idea of vintage, reduce, reuse, recycle. This has all come from somewhere, and instead of going into a landfill, it's getting used, and I will use it going forward. All right, so back to the box. So you kind of, again, you had this little cushion piece over on the edge. It looks like it was just cushioning for that box. So this whole side of the box is now empty. It was just padding and cushioning the saucer box. So we still have 4 cups to unearth. So they're all going to be compressed into this side, which, I'll be honest, makes me a little bit nervous because the top had 2 and that was in a pretty big space. So let's see what holds below. Okay, so this one came out pretty easily. It was very nicely wrapped around the pieces underneath it. This one, as I started to pull it, it's actually pulling one of the mugs. So one of the mugs is sitting on this. I'm going to start undoing the mugs. So this one, I just grabbed it, and it may have shifted a little bit because I didn't realize when I pulled on this that the mug was sitting on it. But if you can see, this mug is right now resting directly against the edge of the box. That's not good, because then the only protection it has is this layer of cardboard and then whatever bubble wrap is on the mug. With so many other things that were so well packaged. Now there might have been something more, maybe that other piece that I pulled out might have tucked it in. I'm going to actually assume it did, because that one piece I pulled out was fairly large. So it came out so easily I didn't realize it, and then when I pulled out this other piece, it may have tipped it. So it's just, I'm not going to give them a ding on that because I have a feeling now that I say it out loud, it was probably my fault. But again, those are things you want to think about, is not only how you're putting it together, at some point somebody has to take it apart. And if you do it in a way, and I'm not saying they did, but if you do it in a way that it becomes almost like a Jenga experience to try and take things out, you run the risk of something inadvertently tipping over, falling out. If you wrap something up, they don't know you were going to wrap it up, you know, that it unrolls itself. So they didn't do any of that, but I just highlight it. So these are, again, this one is wrapped similar to the second one, because I can tell this also does not have the tissue paper surrounding it. So I am still a little intrigued by why one of them had the tissue paper wrap, and so far that was it. Okay, so this again has the plastic bag insert. Another shade of green, more of a chartreuse color. So that was the wrap that was on that one. There's another one in that layer. This one goes into the blue. So also no layer of tissue paper, but the little baggie on the inside pops out. Nice blue color. Okay, so now what I've got left, these were from the inside of the cups. So this layer appears to unfold. And then there was a piece up here, and then the last two pieces are on this layer here. So I can take one of those out. This one has more packaging in it. Interesting. So as we get to the lower level of the box, this one has multiple wraps on it. So the outer layer is longer, and so it wrapped a couple of times. And then this was the tissue paper that was rounding the first one. This has been used to fill the cup. So this is the hot pink color. No, it's not really hot pink, pink color. And then the last one also just, it looks like these, for whatever reason, maybe they were the first ones that got packed, they were using more bubble wrap, and then they started using less as they filled the box. So these are really nicely wrapped. Again, no tissue paper. Tissue paper is pushed into the middle. And we have another survivor of the lavender color. So then the rest of this is, you've still got the styrofoam on the back, as well as the styrofoam that was along the front. This piece of batting, along with some other, tucking in pieces of batting, are then sitting on, interesting, a foam egg crate type material. I'm not sure if that's what this is called, but it's got the bumpy, bumpiness to it, so it's a really good cushioning. And on the back is not rubber, not sure what it is, but it's not the same material on the front. The foam is attached to what looks like about 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch thick, again, a cushy material that this came out of. Well, this came from something. It looks like it was cut because it's not a perfect square or rectangle. So it looks like it was cut out of something, but that was then sitting at the bottom of these, providing an amazing level of protection. And then also there's a nice touch, maybe not necessary, but you can actually see in the bottom of the box there's a line of duct tape that was holding the whole thing together. So a very good packaging job to give me a great looking set of Lilien porcelain of the first generation date stamp. So that was my unboxing for this set of Lilien porcelain teacups and saucers. I am ecstatic that they all survived the transit. They came from Norman, Oklahoma. As I've mentioned before, these videos are not designed to shame anyone. If at any point someone packaged something poorly enough that it was damaged or there were some issues, I would still do the video. I simply just wouldn't identify who that person was. But in this case, I am so happy with the way this was packaged, innovative though it was. Everything came through in perfect condition, and it gives a very good indication of what they would be doing for all of the shipments going out there. So the seller that provided these to me came from eBay. Their name is InSojourn, and I have that on the screen. They are rated a top-rated seller on eBay, and I can see why. So I hope you enjoyed this unboxing. Maybe not as eventful as some of the other ones that I have done, but I hope it was informative because it definitely gave a really good insight on how to package a fairly expensive and very delicate set of porcelain without any damage. So again, my name is Patrick. This was Trusty Huckster Mercantile. If you made it this far and you're not already a subscriber, why don't you give it a shot? Go ahead and subscribe to the video. If you could give it a thumbs up, maybe throw some comments in there about what you liked about the video, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see more of, less of, etc. I'm really trying to build the channel, and I really would love some feedback from my viewers so that I can build it in the right direction and give you what you're looking for. If you're looking for me, I can be found on my social media under the abbreviations of TH Mercantile, which stands for Trusty Huckster Mercantile. You've already found me on YouTube, so go look me up on Instagram, Facebook, and my shop on Etsy. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye and finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my way.